The Snakes come home and look to go fishing for Marlins here in their 3-game set against Miami. We got Jesse Friedman here joining us to talk about the series and also preview just exactly what we can expect out of this team between now and the end of the trade deadline. So join us right now. Don't go anywhere. We're starting in 30 seconds. Welcome in to another edition of the PHNX Diamondbacks show right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, of course, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. We got the dog in all of us, the one and only Damon dog on the ones and twos today, and we are thrilled to have you guys joining us. Of course, this show is brought to you by our friends at Bet365 and Game Time. Go download that Bet365 app right now. Use our code of PHNX365 when you sign up, and you'll get yourself $150 in bonus bets for following some steps. Then go over to Game Time, of course, get yourself your first ticket purchase. You'll get $20 off using our code of PHNX. Great to see you guys here. Happy Thursday to you all. No Diamondbacks baseball today, but we are here to fill that void. And of course, it's not just the two of us. We got to call in a relief, I guess, host in this case. It's the one, the only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman, our guy from Snakes territory. Jesse, welcome in. Great to see you. I know that I was worried because if I don't hear from you, I'm concerned that you might have right elbow inflammation or somehow be lost for the season due to some sort of injury. It's just something that I fear all the time now.
Yeah, somehow, Derek, I too was hit by a baseball in the last week. It's just running rampant around the entire state of Arizona. So take cover, everyone.
Look, man, you and I have seen what those baseballs can do when they fly up into the press box. It's not a pleasant situation. So watch out. But speaking of the press box, the Diamondbacks come back home here to face the Marlins. If I'm not mistaken, was this their longest road trip of the season? It felt like it was their longest road trip here, going for 3 games out, at least equal to their longest road trip.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Generally, 9 games is about as long as it gets over the course of a season. Maybe you could have a 10 somewhere if one of those series was a 4-gamer instead of a 3. But I want to say this is their longest of the year.
Yeah, Todd Walsh sounded like he was ready to come home on the broadcast the other day, but they do finish up their longest road trip going 5-4. Obviously, Toronto being a little bit of a disappointment, but also a tougher opponent. Overall, I think a lot of fans wanted to see this team get a sweep here or there, Jesse, and that didn't really happen, but still they come home with a winning record, and they still have the best record so far in the National League in the month of June.
Yeah, it's really impressive, really, which is strange because I don't know if a lot of people would feel that way right now. It doesn't feel like everything in Diamondbacks land is going spectacularly at the moment. However, yeah, I mean, this is a team that lost Corbin Burns on June 1st to the elbow injury, and since then has lost more players than I think I can even count. And I mean, all of those injuries have happened here in the month of June. And for the Diamondbacks to have the best record in the National League this month, you got to hand it to them. And yes, playing the Rockies and playing the White Sox, like that does help a little bit. But the Dbacks have faced some decent teams this month as well. And they've definitely held their own.
Obviously, the series with the Marlins is big. Pretty much every series between now and the All-Star break is huge for this team. It's like you would say, no game at this point of the year is a must win, but you might say that the Diamondbacks, in order to kind of push things in their favor and, get Mike Hazen's thought process more on buying than selling, you kind of need to win as many of these games as you possibly can, right? So this series with the Marlins is big, and then obviously the series against the Giants is even bigger, with it not only having, the division implications, the wild card implications, but again, just being so important here as we wrap up prior to the All-Star break.
And this weekend series against Miami, yeah, I mean, leading up to that is important too. Just another opportunity to, as
Yeah.
you said earlier, like actually sweep someone, which maybe you're setting the bar a little too high if you're expecting the Diamondbacks to sweep all of these lesser teams. But it wouldn't hurt, definitely wouldn't hurt them to do that
At least
every
once,
once in a
just do
while.
one. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
You
I
won,
mean, it's
you took
odd
care of
that
business. You got the Rockies, you got the White Sox, but again, it would just be nice to sweep one of these lesser opponents, if you will.
it's ironic that the Diamondbacks swept the Braves and swept the Mariners, but were
Yeah.
unable to sweep the Rockies or the White Sox. But that's baseball for you in a nutshell. But yeah, this weekend series is big against the Marlins, another opportunity to move up in the standings. And then yeah, I mean that Giants series is really big too. The Giants have kind of slipped down the standings a little bit here in the past couple of weeks. So the Dbacks are only a few games behind them as well right now. So all these games matter a whole lot as the D-backs try to figure out what direction they're going to take come the end of July.
In fact, the Giants just lost 2 games in a row to this Marlins team. And let's take a look
Yeah.
at this Marlins team at a glance, because, of course, Jesse, whenever we play these opponents, it feels like we're always catching them when they're playing some of their best baseball of the year. Felt like that with the Rockies a little bit. Now, here the Marlins come in 6-4 in their last 10. They have a chance to sweep the Giants, which we really want them to do that, but we also don't want them to come into this series with the Diamondbacks just red hot, fresh off of a series sweep over the Giants, right? But their record here is 33-45 this season. They have a minus 85 run differential. They are 6-4 in their last 10. They have a 700 team OPS, which is good for 18th in Major League Baseball. Their starting pitching ERA, not very good. It's 5.22. It's 29th. And on top of that, they might be losing Sandy Alcantara at the trade deadline. Relief pitching ERA, 4.43, which is 23rd in Major League Baseball. And then minus 3 outs above average, which is good for 17th. So not a very good Marlins team, but better, improved from where they were last year, much like the White Sox that we just played. And definitely a team that, as they're proving right now against the Giants, are still very dangerous in that you can't overlook them.
Yeah, I mean, they've won 3 of their last 4 series coming into this series against the Diamondbacks before winning those 2 games against the Giants. As you mentioned, they took 2 out of 3 from the Atlanta Braves over the weekend. They lost their series before that against the Phillies, but then they actually swept the Washington Nationals in their series prior to that. So, yeah, this is a sneaky competent team, Derek. I would
Yeah.
not call the Miami Marlins good, but they are
Yeah.
probably better than you think they are, and I think they're certainly better than the
Well
Rockies
said.
and the White Sox. And I think if we played a game where like how many Miami Marlins position players can you name, like I'd be kind of impressed if anyone in the chat could get more than like 2, because I don't know if
Without
I could
cheating.
get
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I could get more than like 4 or 5, to be totally honest with you. But yeah, I mean, they've got a few guys in that lineup who've had decent seasons, and it's not a good team, but yeah, it's a team that is competent and that you have to take seriously.
Jess Chisholm doesn't play for them anymore, right? Okay.
He does
Anyway,
not. Nope.
well, then I'm out of luck there. I said I said one pitcher, so I feel like I got enough. But I mean, this happens with teams like the Marlins and the Rays all the time. They tend to be a team that doesn't really have a lot of names you recognize, yet they still find a way to overperform, and then those names start to become names, and then next thing you know, they're competing in the playoffs, and then when they fail, they sell all of those guys off in free agency elsewhere, or let those guys walk.
In the Marlins case, when they succeed.
Yeah, especially when they succeed. They love to do that
and
when
the
they succeed.
The Marlins say, hey, we might have a budding dynasty here with an average age of 23 on this roster.
Get rid of all of them.
Trade all of them
Trade
immediately.
Them all. Let them all walk. But, Jesse, one theory I kind of came up with, and I think I kind of came up with it in jest, but in my mind it's growing, and that is the fact that, like, with all of these injuries the Diamondbacks have experienced, with the situation that they're in, the Diamondbacks are definitely underdogs now. They're underdogs for the rest of the season, regardless of how well they play. I don't think that there's going to be a time, based on how much they've lost, that anybody in Major League Baseball will ever see them as like a contender. Though they could say like they're a scrappy team that you need to watch out for, and if they make the play, like they might play well enough to get that kind of moniker. But I feel like between now and the end of 2025 season and the 2025 playoffs, the Diamondbacks are just going to be in that underdog role. I just feel like they thrive in that role. I feel like once you tell this team, once you tell Torey Lovullo that they can't do something, that they're not able to do something, that their season is over because they've lost Corbin Burns and Justin Martinez, because Gabby and Corbin are out with hand injuries and broken bones, all of these losses, it's like you tell this team that they can't compete any longer and they're not going to be able to compete, and they want to throw it in your face. They get a chip on their shoulder. And I feel like Torey Lovullo manages well from this position. It's the reason why this team was able to do so much in 2023. It felt like that at its core was a big reason why this team was able to do what it did, right? Like it was just a very like defining kind of motivator for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have plenty of evidence at this point that the Diamondbacks certainly don't seem to play well when you're expecting them to. We have quite a bit of evidence on that front at this point.
It's like the expectations are too much, and they can't like they don't know how to deal with it from the perspective of being the favorite. But when they're the underdog, when they're the team that you don't really believe in and you don't think is going to get the job done, that feels like where they thrive. And I mean, that even counts with how many comeback wins they've had this year, right? And it kind of says something about the losses that they've had too. Like when you think that they have a game in hand, they have no problem letting that slip through their fingers. But if you tell them they're not going to win a game because they're down by 6 runs in the ninth, they'll be like, watch me.
It's like a crappy significant other. Like you're like, when you have expectations for them, they just always let you down. But when you're like, you know what? They're not going to get me anything.
Yeah, they don't even know it's my birthday.
They come home with a new puppy and a bouquet of flowers. And
there's an orchestra in your front yard on your anniversary. You're like, this guy, I can't believe him.
Can't shake him.
They're like the ultimate like hypertension baseball team. Like they will keep you nervous and somehow engaged. Like you have a hard time moving on from Diamondbacks baseball because the moment that you think they're out of it and they're done, then they have a month like what they're having right now. It's like, all right, well, the Dbacks are kind of interesting again. Mike Hazen is, talking about buying at the trade deadline and basically all of the conversations that he's having right now. So, I think it's this month that they're having right now, Derek, is a testament to what they're saying. I mean, they're 14-8, even though they've lost a bazillion players that are really important for them.
Yeah. Do you believe Mike Hazen's comments? Like, not to say that he's lying, and I know that he's not fully committed to that. I don't feel like even with what he said, he was like, we're buying no matter what. Like, I don't feel like that's how his comments came off to me. But I mean, again, it does. There's something to me that is still concerning about this team, right? And it's like sometimes a team can play scrappy. Sometimes it can go on a run. They could win a lot of games here between now and the trade deadline. They could make you believe they're competitive. They could even make you add to this team. But it just feels like deep down inside, you have to keep asking yourself, are they an actual contender? And are they good enough to make you potentially not take advantage of a huge windfall you could have by trading off players with expiring contracts at the trade deadline? Like, how hard is that to overcome when you have to both balance winning in the 2025 season and what you're going to do after this year, when most likely you have 6 quality players that all become free agents and most likely don't re-sign with this team?
Most recently, Mike talked to ESPN. There was a story that Jesse Rogers wrote there a couple days ago, Jesse reporting out from that series in Chicago. And Mike made some interesting comments there, Derek. I think a little bit different than what we've seen in some of his interviews with the local media recently. One thing that was interesting to me is he talked about how the wild card needs to come back to the Diamondbacks a little bit, which is a bit of a different feel than how we normally hear Mike Hazen talk. I think he's normally, more in the camp of let's control what we can control. And if we take care of business, then we're going to find ourselves in a good position. But Hazen, there's a fairly long quote in the story where Hazen's talking about how the Brewers are a little concerning with how they're playing, and the Cardinals and the Reds and all of these teams that are playing well in the National League right now. I think he's being kind of realistic and saying like, yes, we are only 3 games behind the 3rd wild card spot right now, but I believe the Diamondbacks are also in 10th place out of 15
Yeah.
teams in the
Yeah.
National League,
Right.
which is not really a great place to be.
I've said this. They're in what I consider to be last place of the teams that are still in the race. And I don't mean to discount the Braves, because we know the Braves could catch fire at any time and make up ground. But much like the Mets did last year, because I felt like at one point the Mets were in a similar position where they were like 7 games out of the wild card, and it didn't feel like they were going to catch up. And then Grimace showed his face at Citi Field, and then the team caught fire and was unstoppable, right? But like, again, you're right, because even though they're only 3.5 games back, there's still a lot of teams in between them and that spot. Not to mention the fact that, again, this is a team that even as they push, even as they go up, even as they win games, you have to wonder when the floor is going to fall out from underneath them based on how thin they are, their roster is right now with depth, right? Like it's not just losing the guys they've lost. It's losing the safety net underneath those guys. Tommy Henry, Blake Walston, those losses are so much bigger than I think people really understand, considering that like now the Diamondbacks have to look at somebody like Yumin Lin realistically as the next man up potentially if something catastrophic happens to another one of their starting pitchers, or they have to start resorting to like bullpen games. Like that lack of depth really does put you in a position of, well, one unfortunate thing happens here, which we've already experienced 17 to 25 unfortunate things happening to our players this year, could put you in a position where you just are literally no longer competitive, or you can't be competitive, consistently throughout your 5-game starting pitching, rotation.
And that's another thing that Hazen talked about in that interview was like, we need to stay healthy from here on out. Like, I think Hazen has an awareness that, yes, they're staying afloat right now with these, 14,000 players on the injured list. But if that number grows anymore, there comes a point where he called it a critical mass, like where you have a critical mass of players on the injured list. And at a certain point, it's like, yes, we are, still within shouting distance here. We'd have to leap over 4 teams in order to get to the third wild card spot. Can we realistically do that given the state of the roster we have right now? I think those are all things that Hazen is taking into consideration. But at the same time, like, we know, Derek, that Hazen loves to buy. Like, he wants to be a trade deadline buyer year after year. And if he sees an opportunity for the Diamondbacks to go for it, I think he's going to lean in that direction when push comes to shove.
Well, and I would hope he would, right? Because we don't want to see him do that. Fans don't want to see him do that. But there comes a point where you look back at a franchise's history and you're like, damn, I'm glad that they decided to do that. I'm glad in that season when things weren't going our way, they decided to just kind of sacrifice and pivot because it set us up for future success. And now look 2 years later at where we're at. We've seen how fast the Diamondbacks could turn things around. Damon and I were just talking about the 2022 season. Or the tail end of the 2021 season, excuse me. 2022 was still bad. 2021 was one of the worst seasons in Diamondbacks history, right? And again, it's amazing how quickly this team did end up turning things around. And so, again, you can have a bad season. Maybe this season is just one of those, one of those seasons you say, excuse the pun, but they're snake bitten. That this is full bad luck, and there's really not much you could do about it. And then, kind of proceed with not sacrificing anything for this season, but making moves that improve you next year. The losses of Gino and Josh Naylor, had those losses been more significant, which we still don't know the extent of Gino's injury, could be absolutely catastrophic. Like, could you imagine losing those 2 players for the rest of the season like we've lost our pitchers, but then not being able to get anything for them, and essentially then losing them as free agents at the end of the year? Like, it's sickening to think about how shallow the Diamondbacks' depth is and how much bad luck they've had. And honestly, with those 2 injuries, how close we were to things being much worse. And again, we don't even know if Gino's is much worse, but I will keep my fingers crossed in regards to that and try to think happy thoughts. We have a lot more to talk about, though, Jesse, in regards to this pitching staff especially. We're going to take a look at the probables for this series with Miami, and we're going to talk about Eduardo Rodriguez possibly being our Ace? I don't know. That's crazy to say, but we're going to talk about it anyway because I say crazy things on this show. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Of course, we love VMe around this office, mostly because we talk a lot of crap to each other. Let me tell you, we get in a lot of arguments. We get a lot of, we bet on a lot of things, push-up contests. It doesn't matter. We got fantasy football coming back up. We're just planning on how crazy that's going to get for us in this office, but it doesn't matter what we're betting on, what we're arguing about, what wager we're trying to settle. We use VMe for all of that because VMe is the first of its kind person-to-person betting app. There's finally a way to settle wagers. And let me tell you, it doesn't even have to be with money. You can literally just VMe somebody for fun, just to make sure that we need stakes. Betting needs stakes, even if it's just for free, even if it's just for bragging rights. You can wagers can be for money or they can be for free. You can bet on anything, including sports, video games. Like I said, come at me at Mario Kart World. You don't want this. You don't want none of my green shell action on Mario Kart World. But of course, golf games, poker nights, push-up contests, it doesn't matter. So much more. VMe is there to help settle all of these, debates, if you will, betting situations. 1v1 or group matchups, it doesn't matter. The best part, no more chasing cash. If you don't trust the Venmo guy, none of us do. And of course, you can all throw your money in, and that way you don't have to worry about who's going to take care of that portion of the betting. Of course, download the VMe app today and play using our code of PHNX, available on the App Store and Google Play. VMe, anyone, anything, anytime. And you all know the moment when you realize that you've left your favorite sunglasses somewhere, especially if you're on a vacation, what's worse is when you go on vacation. If you're going to the beach, and you realize that you did not bring your sunglasses with you.
Like losing your sunglasses at the airport
in Hawaii. Airport. Oh, in Hawaii. Yeah. We know a little bit something about that, don't we, Damon? But of course, that's what it makes Shady Rays so great, is even if you do lose your sunglasses, even at a very inopportune time, you know you haven't lost them for good, because with Shady Rays lost and broken replacement plan, they got your back long after you lose your shades, and they will do it with no questions asked. Of course, they are a wonderful company with some incredibly stylish frames. Of course, you can pick from frames. They also have some amazing crystal clear optics on their polarized lenses. And like I've told you in the past, check out their Color Rush lenses, because those are even more amazing. So check out the wide variety of sunglasses, quality sunglasses that Shady Rays has to offer. And of course, if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can return them or exchange them for free for 30 days. They've got your back long after you purchase. Once again, of course, we have partnered together with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, Jesse. Well, let's take a look here. We got our probable pitchers for the series with the Miami Marlins coming up. Things kick off with Merrill Kelly, which you always feel good about any series that starts with Merrill Kelly on the mound. He is 7-3 this season with a 3.39 ERA. He is going up against Yuri Perez for the Marlins, who has not had himself a very good season. There, he has a 6.17 ERA, 0-2. Game 2, we got Brandon Pfaadt at 8-5 with his ballooning 5.49 ERA. He is going up against Sandy Alcantara, who is 4-8 with a 6.69 ERA for the Marlins. And then in the finale, we got Erod, the man who's never been more back, 3-4 this season with a 5.40 ERA, going up against Cal Quantrill there in the finale. He is 3-7 with a 5.56 ERA, 51 strikeouts for him. Jesse, I know this is crazy. I know you guys probably discussed this on Snakes territory, but let's start off first with what is wrong with Zac Gallen. I've tried my best, especially without you here next to me, to put my finger on it, to figure some things out. I mean, obviously, we discussed yesterday a little bit about how much over the last 2 years the vertical break on his fastball is significantly more than it was prior to that. So it's dropping down in the zone, similar to like the knuckle curve a bit, almost following a similar path. So those two pitches don't necessarily differentiate as much as they did at one time. And I know that he's not getting ahead in the count. I know his fastball command doesn't really seem to be there. I just can't pinpoint if I feel like it's his command or the fact that he doesn't have confidence in it. So he's trying to just constantly dance around the edges and he just misses.
Yeah, my short answer is I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and I
Sure.
don't really feel like I have a great, a great explanation for this. I'm sure that Zac Gallen is also, it sounds like, in the process of trying to figure this out, and it sounds like he's been really frustrated trying to get the pieces to fit together. There are a few things that stand out to me. I mean, home runs are a pretty obvious one. Gallen has allowed 19 home runs already in 2025 and under 100 innings pitched. So very, very high home run rates. He is on pace to allow 38 home runs if he were to have a full 34 starts this season. And he made 34 starts in 2023 for reference and only allowed 22 home runs. So he's basically allowing home runs at twice the rate that we are used to seeing. And home runs are a difficult thing to pinpoint because they're such isolated events. I mean, you can make a lot of good pitches, and if you just make one really, really bad one, then suddenly
Right.
it's in the seats and it has a huge impact on the game, even though it's just one pitch. So those are it's hard for me to really make sense of what's
Sure.
happening there. There was also one that really stood out to me was the Benintendi home run yesterday, where Gallen had
Above the
Benintendi
zone?
down in the count 0-2. And yeah, it was way above the strike zone.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
even a strike. It was a
I brought that up
perfectly
yesterday.
executed. Yeah, and it's like, how on earth did Benintendi just hit that? Like, it looked effortless, almost like he totally knew it was coming. And yeah, Gallen in his post-game interview also expressed frustration about that. Like, yeah, I made a perfect pitch and he just hit it over the fence. Part of that could be what you were saying earlier, where his stuff is diminished really across the board. By the Stuff Plus metric, Zac Gallen ranks 70th out of 73 qualified starting pitchers in Stuff Plus. So just talking about velocity, movement, release point, all those factors on his pitches, his arsenal is, according to that, one of the worst in all of baseball right now. So, yeah, I mean, I guess he just put all this stuff together where his command is not what it once was. He's making more big mistakes over the middle of the zone. We saw one of those yesterday as well with that curveball that he hung to Lenyn Sosa. And his stuff just isn't quite what it once was. So he's maybe not able to get away with quite as much as he used to.
We have some very smart fans in our chat, Jesse, as you know. We always do. This is nothing new, but we got Ernesto, who really dug in, and he said he spent 40 minutes comparing 2023 Gallen highlights versus yesterday's start, and this is his conclusion. His arm angle is off, and he's tipping. And I don't know without looking into it myself if what Ernesto is saying is true, but it does track, right? Because like what you're saying with that Benintendi home run, it's like he knew it was coming, right? So if there is something that Gallen is doing to tip his pitches, and that information, that intel is out, or teams have it, hitters have it, then that could be it. I mean, we're still not necessarily seeing Gallen be so bad that the secret is completely out, and we're seeing like every player just go up there and hit him hard. But that's another thing, is his hard hit rate seems to be much higher. Yesterday, in his last start, he had a lot of hard hit balls in that outing, even the ones that obviously went for out. So it didn't really feel, I think he had like 9 balls that were hit 95 miles per hour or harder. And again, it just doesn't really feel like he's fooling many people. I think he only got a couple of whiffs on his fastball, even though there were a lot of swings at his fastball and just a lot of things. Like you said, not expecting Jesse to come on here and fix the team. But you're
are
right,
you
though.
not?
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, I think someone else in this town a few blocks over would be paying you much more if they could to get you to do that for them. But it's difficult, right? Yeah, like it's not easy to always figure out what exactly is wrong with a guy. But I guess the other question I have for you is, like, how shocked are you that Zac Gallen has the highest ERA of qualified pitchers in Major League Baseball? Like, I still can't get over that. It is something that when I wake up in the morning, I think of and bothers me. Like, like when you're like, oh man, I have to go to court. Like, and it's like ruins you might have woke up happy, but then you think immediately of like, oh man, I have to pay that $500 fine today, and then all of a sudden your morning's ruined like that. I wake up and I'm happy and I say hello to my dogs and my cat, and then I think Zac Gallen has the worst ERA of qualified pitchers in Major League Baseball, and it ruins my day. It just bums me out for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of wild, right? I mean, we've been talking for a year and a half now about how Gallen seems to be regressing. The stuff is a little diminished. The fastball command has been out of whack for a while now.
Yep.
He's been talking about his delivery being out of sync for, 18 months. But there's a difference between Gallen regressing and Gallen being literally the worst pitcher in baseball, right? And somehow that is basically where we've landed, at least among qualified starting pitchers, right? The results have been worse than anyone else. So yeah, it blows my mind too, Derek. I mean, I don't really understand how things have fallen off for him this quickly. Obviously, it's a contract year for him as well. So you wonder if maybe that has played a role in this. I know he talked about that on the radio the other day, and he said that he really isn't thinking about that at all. So it's really hard to figure out. I don't think I would have been shocked if Gallen continued to regress a little bit this year. Maybe an ERA in the low 4 range or something like that after he had a 3.65 last year. But what we've seen is a guy who just frankly isn't giving the Diamondbacks a chance to win a lot of the games that he's pitching.
This reminds me of what Torey Lovullo was trying to do in regards to the expectations after the 2023 season, right? The reason why he was trying to reshape it into standards and different terms and try to make it into something different was, again, trying to take expectations, which can weigh you down as an athlete, which can weigh your team down, and change it into a more positive spin. Like, we're creating a new standard here of excellence that future eras, future generations of this team will follow in our example. Where but it didn't work really. And I mean, I guess it kind of did. They still won more games in 2024 than they did in 2023, but it's difficult. And I think, like, even if Gallen says he's not thinking about it, it's hard, especially as you're struggling, for that to not be this one little thought back here in your head that's also, adding that extra pressure and making you feel extra bad about how you're struggling, how poor you're performing, right? But I don't know, man. I mean, I think the other thing there too is the contract year. I've talked about how it's hard for me, you are far more professional than I am, but I think you would even say that deep down inside, being around these guys, you start rooting for them as people. And even though I don't really, I wasn't really of the mindset that Zac Gallen was going to return because of how good he's been and how much money he's going to potentially receive, right? I was kind of in favor of that. Like, I know it sucks. I know fans don't want him to leave. I don't want him to leave, but I also am like, good for you, man. Go get your bag. And now that's something that for me makes me extra sad about this, because I know how much this season means to him financially, means to his career. And it sucks that of all times for him to be struggling to figure it out, that this is that season, right? And so that part that really makes me sad for him on a personal level. And I know, like, again, he's probably going to have plenty of money. No, money's not going to be a problem for him. He's not going to be struggling financially, but it's still a huge difference between what he was going to get paid based on how he's performed his entire career versus now how this one season has impacted that contract and the decision teams are going to make in regards to him.
We were having a conversation on Snakes Territory yesterday about the qualifying offer and whether, coming into the year, it seemed like a total no-brainer that you give Zac Gallen the qualifying offer. That way, if he walks, which he probably was going to.
Which he probably would,
yeah. Then you get a pretty nice draft pick as compensation, right? But now, the qualifying offer, we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it's probably going to be about a year and $22 million. If you give Zac Gallen that this offseason, there is a non-zero chance that he accepts it, because he just is not pitching very well, and getting a $22 million for 1 year as kind of a pillow contract is, could be a decent situation for him. And I don't know if the Diamondbacks want to pay Zac Gallen $22 million. Right. That's a pretty big portion of, I think, what they have to spend this offseason. So I mean, the fact that his agent is Scott Boras, we were talking about this on our show yesterday, that, like, I don't know if Boras would ever accept a qualifying offer for
it's
anyone.
Not in his DNA.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in his DNA. So I think I would probably still offer it, at least with where things stand right now. But, it's something the Dbacks would have to be prepared for. Like, if you give the qualifying offer, there is like an actual chance that he might accept it. And you have to be prepared to pay him that amount of money if he does.
Right. And I think somebody asked that in the chat. Like, I don't know the answer to that. I will say Zach's performances, I know he's had some bad ones, but for the most part, he performs like a pitcher that has a 5 ERA. He's going to give up 4 or 5 runs lately, and that's what he's done for the majority of his starts. So it's, even though it's bad, even though it's not good, even though it really doesn't give the team a chance to be competitive, it's as inconsistent as it is, it's still actually fairly consistent this year. Like, what you're going to get when Zach goes out there. It's not great, but I mean, again, I don't know if we believe, I don't know if the franchise believes any longer that he can kind of improve out of this. I know I do. I think Jack and I were of the same mindset when you guys discussed this on the show yesterday, Jesse, of that, like, as much as we might not believe in Zac Gallen anymore, there are 10 teams that still do. There are 10 teams that would probably be willing to offer more than our fan base and we would believe for him, because they aren't looking at what he's done this year. They're looking at what he's done his entire career, and they believe a change of environment for him could bring out the best in him once again. It's hard to believe when a player has been as consistent as they have over their career, and Zach has been Mr. Consistency over his career, that they would just suddenly fall off like he has over the last basically season, right? Going back to this point last season through this year, like you said, the last 18 months have been rough for Zach, but he also threw more pitches in 2023 than he ever has. So there was that too. And it's interesting to think about how that impacted him overall as a pitcher, right? But I do have to give a little credit. We joked about it before the commercial break. Eduardo Rodriguez is pitching like we expect Zac Gallen to pitch. Eduardo Rodriguez is pitching like the guy that the Diamondbacks brought over. Now, I will temper it. I will say that it's a very small sample size since he's returned from the IL. However, the sample size is growing, and it reminds me a little bit of Ryan Nelson last year, where it was like 2 starts, 3 starts. You're like, all right, this is kind of nice. And you're like 4 starts. You're like, hey, this might actually be something here. And then next thing you know, for a stretch of a month, Ryan Nelson was the Diamondbacks' best pitcher. Well, at least since returning from the IL, Erod has kind of been the Diamondbacks' best pitcher. He's even been a little bit better than Merrill Kelly. I'm not ready to slap that ace label on him just yet, but it is remarkable how a guy that a lot of people probably have given up on, probably thought was a bust, probably thought was another bad pitching deal for this team, could suddenly come back from a stint off due to an injury and be pitching like the way we always hoped he could. And I mean, honestly, quite frankly, even a little bit better.
It passes the eye test right now. I mean, Erod is, he's not just going out there with 2 or 3 strikeouts every time out. I mean, he had 10 in his outing against the White Sox, and granted, that is the White Sox. That is the worst offensive team in all of baseball. And I think, some of these bigger strikeout performances have come, against teams like the Nationals. He had 9 against the Marlins as well when he saw them earlier in the season. He did have 10 against the Phillies, but he wound up giving allowing 3 earned runs and 5 1/3 that game. He had 4
and he
walks
always beats the White Sox. Always beats the White Sox. They discuss that in the broadcast. He never doesn't do well against the White Sox. But still, I think that it's kind of like some of the series the Diamondbacks have lost. When they won these series, people were dissatisfied because they're like, oh, well, it's against the White Sox. It's against the Rockies. You didn't sweep them. So I'm not going crazy about you just winning a couple of series in a row, right? Which is understandable. But the Diamondbacks have not done a good job of taking care of business against weaker opponents this year. So it's like, well, at least in the games that have been put before him since returning, he has a close to a 2 ERA and lots of strikeouts and lots of innings pitched. And he's just been pretty damn good. I mean, you can only kind of take it one day at a time as a pitcher and one outing at a time. But like, again, it really does feel like his confidence is growing, and we're starting to see the best version of him, at least in his time as a Diamondback that we've ever seen.
It's really encouraging for the long-term future of this contract, right? I mean, you've still got Eduardo for 2 more seasons, and if you'd asked Dbacks fans a couple months ago how they felt about that, it was like, this is the next Bumgarner contract. Like they're going to have to DFA this guy a year and a half before his contract is even up. But this has been a really good version of him that we've seen these past 4 starts. You know me, Derek. I love me an expected ERA, and Eduardo's expected ERA for the season now is 3.71. Almost 2 full runs below his actual ERA, and actually the best expected ERA that he has ever had in any season of his career. So I think even before the injury happened, there was a sense that like, all right, Eduardo's not pitching well, but he's caught some bad breaks. The defense has not done him any favors. I don't know if he was ever really deserving of the 7 ERA that he had before he went on the injured list. But since then, he has really, really turned things around and pitched well in all facets.
All right. Well, we got some more to talk about on the other side of the break because it is Throwback Thursday, Jesse, and we are going to throw it back to the second no-hitter in Diamondbacks franchise history. That happened a long time ago yesterday. So we're going to cover that when we come back from this break. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. I wish we had more Frosty takes because I definitely miss having a Frosty in my hand. And if you want yourself a delicious, creamy treat, make sure to stop by Wendy's anytime and check out their brand new Frosty shop. There is a wide variety of Frosties to be had, not just your classic chocolate. Back in my day, that's all we had was chocolate. Then vanilla came around, and that felt cool. But now, it's better than ever. Right now, you can check out the Frosty Swirl and the Frosty Fusion flavors. They are incredible. You got a swirl in there of brownie batter, strawberry, or caramel. And then you also have the blended Frosty Fusions, which include Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, and Pop-Tart strawberry, which goes crazy. Make sure to check those out at your local Wendy's. Whether you are looking, no matter what flavor you're craving right now, odds are they've definitely got a Frosty for it. Clock in for a sweet treat anytime, including midnight or later, with Wendy's all-new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, it's got to be Wendy's. At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location. And of course, a big shout out to Desert Financial Credit Union. They always keep our numbers straight around here. And if you are an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. It's the only place you can show your team spirit every single time you make a purchase with exclusive debit cards branded with your favorite teams, including the Arizona Cardinals, the Arizona State University Sun Devils, and of course, the Northern Arizona University Lumberjacks. Let's go
you're
Lumberjacks.
Using government names out here.
I know, I really am. The full names. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, and they love the sports world. So, of course, if you love sports, make sure to check out Desert Financial. They got me started on my home ownership journey, and if you are looking to own a home, hopefully they can get you started as well. They can definitely get you started on meeting your financial goals, that's for sure. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with their members. When you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. All right, Jesse. Well, today is Throwback Thursday as the purple, which I mean, again, it's not even a purple thing anymore, right? It could be Friday and we could have purple up there. But on this day, some historic things occurred, or at least around this day in history, including a couple of no-hitters happening. The first no-hitter in Chase Field, a.k.a. Bank One Ballpark history, happened on June 25th, 1999, but it was not by an Arizona Diamondback, though Randy Johnson was involved. St. Louis's Jose Jimenez outdueled Diamondbacks' Randy Johnson, winning by, of course, a score of 1-0. Of course he did, because that's the way Randy Johnson starts went back in 1999. The game's only run scored on a Thomas Howard single in the top of the 9th inning. So, of course, that was the only run at all in that game. But the Diamondbacks did have a no-hitter on this day, Jesse, on June 25th, or again, around this day, one day ago. In 2010, Edwin Jackson tossed the second no-hitter in club history, and it happened against the Tampa Bay Rays, which I'm never surprised when anything historical happens against the Tampa Bay Rays. We're intertwined like that forever.
Yeah, what a day to be alive for a Dbacks fan, Derek. It was one of the ugliest no-hitters that you will ever see.
Absolutely.
He threw 149 pitches, and imagining Imagining a baseball manager in 2025 allowing their starter to throw 149 pitches
For
to
a
complete a
regular
no-hitter.
season game in June.
Yeah. No, ain't that never gonna happen ever again.
Oh my
And what
God.
I had missed before, people probably remember he had 8 walks, of course. And what I had missed before is out of those 149 pitches, he threw 79 strikes. 79 strikes and 70 balls. He threw basically the same number of balls as strikes for 150 pitches, basically, and he walked away with a no-hitter. So
That's
gotta love it.
wild. That is wild. Well, yeah, you're right. I still think back about the time that Zac Gallen told us that he would never do anything like this for a no-hitter, but he would let his arm fall off for a perfect game, which that was the day I actually realized that there was a huge difference between a no-hitter and a perfect game in the mind, at least of a Major League Baseball pitcher. And that tracks, because there's been far more no-hitters in history than there have been perfect games. But on this day in 2000, Jesse, there was a fun call-up. I don't know if you remember Alex Cabrera. He hit 35 home runs in 53 minor league games. He got called up. He makes his big league debut as a pinch hitter and hits a home run in his debut in the 8th inning. He becomes the 78th Major League Baseball player in history to homer in his first career at bat. And let me tell you, that man instantly became a legend for Diamondbacks fans. It didn't take more than that one pinch hit at bat. We loved that man. He could do no wrong.
I don't understand how I feel like I'm just hearing about this for the first time. He hit 35 home runs in 53
minor league games.
So I just pulled up his stats. He hit 382 for Double-A with a 986 slugging percentage and a 1438 OPS. And then maybe you can help me with this, Derek. He played just that one season in the majors and never played ever again.
Yeah.
What happened?
That's why I don't know, because the internet wasn't around anymore, Jesse. So we didn't know what happened to people. People just faded away into dust, like gone forever, never talked about again. I still to this day don't know what happened to Chad Tracy. I would love someone to fill me in on that, because I was a huge Chad Tracy fan. Like, there's just players like this that are funny, because in baseball, I think more than any other sport, and this goes in lots of sports, guys become, kind of a fan favorite for a brief moment based on a big game or a thing they did. But yeah, no, I mean, this is, I don't know. I'm sure some sort of devastating injury happened or something, but yeah, no, I mean, that's why I say, like, literally a legend in history, because I don't know what happened to him ever. And
I just pulled up his Baseball Reference page. It looks like he played in Japan. The next year, he played in Japan for a full season. He hit 49 home runs in Japan, and then he hit 55 the next year, 50 the year after that. This guy finished with 447 career home runs in not in the States, all in foreign leagues. It looks like it was Japan. Then he played in Venezuela for a while. So wow. Alex Cabrera, you learn something new every day.
What a pull, right? Well, we got one more for you, Jesse, but this one we've already talked about. On June 29th, 2012, Aaron Hill hit the second of 2 cycles that season, which, again, you talk about mind-blowing things that happen. I still can't believe that happened. It was against the Brewers within 11 days of each other. It was the 11 days away from the first cycle he hit, become the second player in modern era Major League Baseball to hit for a pair of cycles in a season. The only other guy is a guy named Babe Herman, who did it for the Brooklyn Robins back in 1931. When Babe was a popular name to call people. Yeah, who could forget?
Yeah, I mean, you could still do it, right? You can still pull it off.
Babe
yeah,
Friedman.
I mean, that's still the only or the most recent cycle in Diamondbacks history. Nobody's done it since 2012. So
tip of the cap.
I don't know what the deal is.
Aaron Hill. Yeah, get your stuff together, guys. Let's hit first cycle. Well, we're going to get our stuff together here. We got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the minor league guys. We're going to take a trip down to the Snake Farm, so don't you guys go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Of course, today, Circle K Inner Circle members, today is your day because it is an Inner Circle Fuel Day where you will save 40 cents off per gallon at Circle K. So get out there, fill your car up, fill yourself up. It's also America's thirst stop. But if you have not joined the Inner Circle, you are not going to experience this discount. So make sure to join it for free right now by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details, but you will save 40 cents per gallon today. So go out there, save yourself some money. You also get yourself all sorts of other promotions. Of course, you'll save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups as a new member. You'll save 3 cents per gallon every day after that. And then there's plenty of other member exclusive deals and discounts, and you can get those in the app all the time. So don't miss out on all of the money you could be saving by becoming an Inner Circle member. Do so right now. And of course, you need yourself something to drink. You also need to extend your outdoor living space as much as possible. And All Pro Shade Concepts is the best way to do that. Extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning. They have hundreds of designs to choose from, hundreds of colors to choose from, and they will work with your HOA to ensure everything is compliant and nobody's yelling at you or trying to fine you. They also have roll down patio shades, which will block the sun and keep your patio up to 20 degrees cooler, blocking out 95% of those harmful UV rays. They can also replace and fix most or old or outdated patio shades and motorized awnings. So give them a call right now at 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com right now to schedule your free estimate. They've been in business for 20 years right here in the Valley, and they are now one of the largest installers of patio roll-down shades and motorized awnings in Arizona. Licensed, bonded, insured. So again, give them a call if you want a free estimate today.
For some reason, I've been seeing a lot of All Pro Shade Concepts ads recently, and they just fire me up.
They're also good.
I don't know why, but they just...
It's because they make amazing advertisements. It really is.
I feel like it's the dream to have an awning like that in your backyard, like just a nice, beautiful backyard, maybe a bar area, put the awning up, maybe some misters on. It's the dream.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I like, again, seeing some of their commercials, not to keep this conversation going, but I didn't know the extent of how cool some of their stuff was. So like I saw one of their things is just like a big old wall that just kind of can lift up and go from being like a wall that like blocks your patio to like extending it out over the yard, it's great. The stuff they can do is amazing. So yeah, definitely. I need to upgrade my outdoor living space for sure. But Diamondbacks upgrading their farm system just a little bit, not with new members, but moving guys around. Let's take a look at our snake farm number. Actually, we'll do that in a second. Oh, there they are. Throw them up. We already did that. We're not going to hide. We're not going to run and hide from it. But Ryan Waldschmidt, Jesse, he gets the call. He was promoted to AA Amarillo already, which is pretty impressive. I feel like Waldy is kind of cruising here through the Diamondbacks minor league system, similar to what we saw with Corbin Carroll. He, for the Hillsboro Hops, averaged 268 with an 862 OPS, 9 home runs. He had 43 RBI. And he just went 2 for 4 yesterday for the Sod Poodles. So good showing from Waldy out there. Another fellow Sod Poodle is Tommy Troy. He was 2 for 5 with a double yesterday. He is hitting 294 with an 859 OPS. He has 8 home runs and 31 RBI. And then the other guy making the move there, the guy in front, Blaze Alexander, being called up to the big league club, averaging 284 for the Reno Aces with an 892 OPS, 8 home runs by Blaze with 41 RBI. Jesse, things are dwindling down, but once again, like I've said, the Dbacks are lucky that they've have the depth that they've had, because we've asked questions about where these guys were going to play, what they were going to do with certain guys. Obviously, Blaze is one of those players that a lot of fans we love on this show. We are huge fans of Blaze Alexander, and we wanted to see him, get more playing time, get an opportunity on the big league club. But again, with how stacked this roster was during the preseason, it didn't look like we would see guys like Blaze potentially this year. Yet here we are with our depth being tested and Blaze getting a pretty good opportunity here to come back up and show what he can do.
I'm really curious if the Diamondbacks would have gone to Jordan Lawler if Lawler was healthy. From what we know, it sounds like Lawler has a sore hamstring that he's working through right now.
Not on the IL, but just kind of a day-to-day situation, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm curious if the Dbacks went to Blaze just because Lawler wasn't an option, or if they would have gone to Blaze anyway because, frankly, Lawler, the last time he was up in the majors, things didn't go too well for him. So, Blaze has had a decent year down in AAA. His numbers are a lot better than they were last year in AAA. He has an 892 OPS this year compared to a 797 mark in AAA a season ago. The strikeout rate is still in the mid 20s. The ground ball rate is still up over 50%. So if I'm being totally honest here, I don't love what some of the underlying stuff says about what Blaze has done in AAA. But yeah, it's good to see him back in the majors. He's a great guy. I know you and I have both very much enjoyed spending time around him, and I'm sure the Dbacks clubhouse will be happy to have him back as well.
His energy is infectious. It really is. I know he's been compared to a Labrador puppy before, and that might be fairly accurate, but he's just one of the best people. Yumin Lin, we talked about a little bit ago. He just had a nice outing, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5K. A chance we could see Lin if things, I mean, not even if things go bad, but if the Diamondbacks end up becoming sellers and the return isn't major league caliber starting pitching, I mean, there's a chance we see Lin just based on need, just based on like, hey, we need to fill out our starting rotation if those trades involve Merrill Kelly or Zac Gallen.
That's a really good point that honestly I really have not thought about at all. Like we can talk until we're blue in the face about, yes, you should trade Gallen and Kelly because the D-backs aren't going to be competitive, et cetera, et cetera. But who is going to enter the rotation if the Diamondbacks trade one or both of those guys?
No Henry, no Blake Walston, you know what I mean? And like, again, you look at the numbers aren't great for the other starting pitchers in the staff. Other guys are getting hurt. When you look at the AAA, depth chart, they've lost guys. And honestly, it's just, these are the things that concern me, especially when you start talking about being sellers at the trade deadline. Now, I know the Diamondbacks don't need to like go crazy, but again, if a very lucrative offer comes in for someone like Merrill Kelly, it's hard to turn it down. And I mean, you still have the opportunity to trade Kelly away and then re-sign him as a free agent after the season is there. So not to say that opportunity is lost simply because you trade him away. However, you never know how Kelly might feel about that. Maybe they have an under the table kind of conversation about, hey, we're going to trade you away, but hey, we're going to do everything we can to bring you back, just to, and I feel like Kelly is the kind of guy that would understand that and also loves this state enough that he might want to come back after something like that occurred. But I don't know, Jesse. I don't know what this team's going to do. And I don't know how much the success over the next kind of month can impact their ability to refrain from those kind of deals being made. But we will see. We will see how things shake out. Also, if Slade Caldwell gets promoted to AA Amarillo before Drew Jones, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to probably overreact in a strong manner. But thank you so much for your time. He is Jesse Friedman. You can find him over, of course, at Snakes Territory with the one and only Jack Summers. Follow him at Jesse N. Friedman. Follow their show at Snakes Territory. And, of course, you can find that podcast anywhere you find your podcast, anywhere you find this one. So we thank you guys again for your time. You can follow me at Cap_Caveman with a K. You can follow Damon at Damon Dog with a DAWG at the end. We are all Damon's dogs. Bark, bark. Our show is at PHNX_Dbacks. But of course, as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports. I can't believe I cut you off in your bark, bark there. I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, there's really a little delay, Yeah. I think I also was a little late, so I can't blame
it happens. You. It happens. We're not as sharp as we were.
Yeah, we're not on our A game right now.
I mean, let's be honest. None of us are this season.
Similar to Zac Gallen and his pitching struggles, This is, the outro of our show.
Yeah.
Just all of us in different places.
We started strong, but we gave up a couple of home runs along the show, and then now here we are getting pulled probably earlier than we should. We probably only threw 85 pitches in this game, but still.
Maybe we just need to podcast early on a East Coast game or something.
From New York, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe we'll just podcast from New York.
Yeah, like
forward.
In Philadelphia or something. Our timing would be a little better.
Yeah, no. Emily Williams, she asked me earlier, I believe, what's my favorite 2025 jersey. I'm just going to say it's the Perpientis jersey. But she wants to know if I plan to update the D-backs jersey list. I think I need to take a swing at that, Jesse. I think I need to update that article with I don't think the jerseys they're wearing now are a part of it, nor is the Serpientes jersey, but we'll get that one in there. We thank you guys as always. Jesse, thank you, of course, for your time. We will be back with another post-game show tomorrow night, so make sure to join us for that. And we will cover all this stuff going on with the Diamondbacks and the Marlins this weekend. So make sure to stay tuned. Again, we appreciate you guys so much for your time. We thank you guys for stopping by. We will see you tomorrow. tomorrow for that post-game show. And until then, have yourselves a wonderful evening and watch some Diamondbacks baseball tomorrow. Behave yourselves. Mostly you, Sean. That one's for you. Maybe a little bit for Emily, too. But, of course, as always, remember, kids, baseball is fun. Oh, wait. We have BCSC Super Chats?
We do.
Let me just get those in there real fast. I'm just going to fire them off. BCSC says, I would cake hug Ketel, clappers, fatty cake. All right. We got Merrill, Big Body Daddy Kelly is about to shove. Yes, Big Body Daddy. He says no to Eduardo Rodriguez being the ace. Says no, the ace is Big Body Cake to Kelly. And last, he said, Jesse keeps smiling at me. I'm going to tell Noah. All right. Well, Jesse, stop smiling at BCSC because he's already definitely involved with Noah. And the rest of you.
Big Body Friedman.
The rest of you guys, again, behave yourselves. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you figure out what the direction this team is going in.
We all silly like the mayor.